you think of safety, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Do you think of locking your doors? Or being home with your security system on? Do you think of the ways in which you try to eliminate the physical threats that surround you, perhaps by carrying mace in your back pocket or locking the door to your car when you get in? All of these things relate to physical safety. But today I want to talk about a different kind of safety, the kind that comes from within, the kind that allows us to find the courage to express ourselves. When you think of this kind of safety, when you think about where you feel safest to express yourself, what or who do you think of? Do you imagine your closest friends or your surrounding family members who make you feel safe to express yourself because you know they will not judge you? Do you think of a room all by yourself, perhaps, where you're free from all external threats to your expression? Research professor Brené Brown explains in her book Daring Greatly that true courage comes when we decide to take a risk without knowing the outcome. Daring greatly is about finding the courage to be vulnerable, to show up and be seen. It means accepting that we are not able to control how others react to our vulnerability, but deciding to show up anyway. How do we build this kind of courage, though? How do we learn to feel safe in expressing ourselves, knowing that others will have their own opinions and react in ways we cannot foresee? Throughout my own personal journey, on my quest to learn how to find the courage to be vulnerable, I've learned 3 things that have completely changed the way I'm able to show up and express myself in this world. 1, I've learned to detach my feelings about the thing I'm expressing from what others have to say about it. Sure, sometimes I seek out feedback from other people, but when I'm expressing myself through a video, for example, my feelings towards the video must be completely independent of how others react to it. If I am proud of the work that I put into my creation, I'm much more likely to have the courage to share it with others because their opinions can't take away from the work that I know I put into the project. 2, I've realized that other people's opinions are not for me to control. That is not my job. I will run myself into the ground trying to navigate my life on the basis of how others view me. And though I have tried, this is not a realistic way to live. The second you decide to put the responsibility on others to choose how they feel about you, instead of leaving it up to yourself to try to anticipate and control, life becomes so much easier. If someone is really going to hate on you for expressing yourself in a way that brings you joy, that is not a person you should care to hear the opinion of in the first place. Third, and the tip that is undoubtedly the one that was most challenging for me to put into practice, I've always preached the importance of being one's own biggest advocate, but in reality, I spent years being my own worst enemy. Depression and mental illness convinced me that everything bad in my life was the result of my inadequacy. It had me believing that I was undeserving of all the good in my life, but fully responsible for all the bad. For years, I had myself convinced I would only be good enough once I became something, once I achieved something. I spent years of my life beating myself up for every mistake or seemingly irresponsible endeavor that I engaged in. The most transformative shift I have ever made in my entire life was deciding to become my own biggest advocate. I realized breaking myself down was not getting me to where I wanted to go. It was not doing me any good. I was not more motivated to change into the person I wanted to be. I was utterly unmotivated to even try to start. So one day I decided to be my own biggest cheerleader instead. And let me tell you, there is nothing that will make you feel more safe in this world than accepting yourself for all that you are. Regardless of what happens or what others say or think about you, if you have you, and I mean actually have you, like support you and forgive you and love you and respect you, you have all that you need. You have the choice to be enough for yourself. You have the gift of letting go of your resentful thoughts. Now I know this is so much easier said than done, but if you can find a way to become your own safe space in a world that constantly tries to get you to hate on yourself, your life will completely transform. Everything will change, and I mean everything. Expressing yourself will no longer feel so very daunting and heavy, though it will still be scary at times, because it will never change how you feel about yourself. If you are so cemented in your inherent worth in this world, someone not liking something you have to say or something that you created will never change that. Becoming my own safe space was the greatest decision I have ever made for my internal safety barometer, one, but also just for my life in general. We all know that feeling of getting home after a long day, snuggling up in bed with a warm drink and comfortable pajamas, finally feeling like we can take a breath and relax, finally feeling like we can let down our guard for a moment and just be. Well, what if I told you you could become your own cup of hot cocoa and comfy pair of slippers? What if I told you you didn't have to go far to feel this retreat? What if inside your very own mind you could find refuge? This is the kind of safety I'm talking about, the kind that allows you to feel comfortable being exactly as you are, where you are, wherever you are. That's the kind of safety that could change this whole world. Start by being kind to yourself today. Say something uplifting to yourself in the mirror. You don't have to believe it just yet, but you do have to believe there's a way for you to believe it. And one day it won't feel like such a distant fantasy. You can become the best friend you've always wanted to be. As articulated by Dr. Maya Angelou, I long, as does every human being, to be at home wherever I find myself. Start creating a home inside of yourself today. It won't be easy, but if I can do it, I know you can too. I love you.